Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on Rakdu Ridge playing a bit of Skaven against Chaos. And for this matchup I decided to go with something a little over the top, a little ridiculous, and just go with essentially a bunch of Mortis Engine effects and very little infantry, or very little quality infantry. The vast majority of my army is essentially trash tier Skaven slave units, and yeah, so either way, going in, we do have Skrulk. Skrulk, of course, the most competitive lord choice for Skaven. Not really much debate there. He, of course, does have his AoE melting abilities with Route of Corruption. He's got Liber Bonicus for lord sniping, Stand Your Ground, Plague. I wanted to try Plague out a whole bunch, so I brought it. It's blessed with Filth, as well as, of course, Aura of Pestilence and all that good stuff. So I actually didn't bring much in the way of summons or anything like that. I actually didn't bring any summons. And we brought very little magic here, because my goal was essentially to use the Mortis Engine effects to melt down my opponent's infantry mobs, and then to use the Help Abominations and my blobs of Poison Globadiers, of which I've got 3 units, to dispatch my opponent's large units. Because one of the big problems with this sort of composition is that if your opponent comes in and he's got, say, Chaos Knights, he can easily just dumpster this front line, get rid of all these troops, and then you're isolated. And honestly, Help Abominations are not that good against large, even though they are technically anti-large. Just the fact that they've got very low melee stats overall. The bonus versus large is only 17, I believe, so it's not anything impressive, unlike a lot of other monsters that have, say, bonus versus large in the 30s. It's really not that good. So basically hoping that if my opponents, say, brought Chosen or units like that, we'll be able to melt them down with the furnaces. And anything large, we've got all these Poison Globes and these Helpets to muck them up and beat them down. Of course, there's a whole bunch of Skaven Slaves. We've got some Clanrat Spears in there as well, just to act as a bit of cannon fodder and protection. We also do have 3 units of Skaven Slave Slingers to help zone off units like Marauder Horsemen. My opponent here, who was Ericrastic, who you guys might have seen on other channels as well. Pretty well-known player, I suppose. I've definitely seen his some of his cool replays on Party Elite's channel and places like that. Here, he did decide to go with a bit of a wide and a bit of a skirmish-heavy build. So, not necessarily ideal for my composition, but at the same time, he doesn't have too many units that can quickly clear my chaff off, which is definitely nifty. He did bring a Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Fire, you can see. Mounted on a dragon, he's got Fireball, he's got Cascading Fire Cloak, and Burning Head. So essentially, some of the best tools to crack Skaven chaff. As well as Snipe Lords, which is definitely going to be a bit of a problem because, of course, Skrulk, although tankier than some other Skaven Lords, at least in raw HP, is going to be very simple to fireballs. Now, for the rest of this comp, my opponent did bring a bunch of Marauder Horsemen. You can see he's got 4 units of normal Horsemen. He's got some Marauder Throwing Axes here in the back as well to provide some AP. And then he's got some Hounds, for example, to do some backline harass. You can see already a Fireball coming in and clocking my Helpet for quite a bit of HP damage. The Splash even doing damage over there. Actually, there might have been Javelins doing damage there, but regardless. Then there's a Chaos Chariot over here. So this probably he was hoping would muck up infantry or deal with infantry a little better. Personally, I think you need to go more heavy on heavy cav. His front line here is a mix of Chaos Warriors as well as Chaos Marauders and the Regiment of Renown. Weird spawn, the Chaos spawn, who have some resistances, some built-in physical resist. I'm not entirely sure what their exact physical resist is. It's 15%, which isn't too amazing, but it's better than nothing. And they have Armor Sunder, which is going to synergize really nicely with those. Finally, for anti-large, he does have a Dragon or Shaggoth over there, so definitely some pretty brutal stuff. You can see, though, over here, my opponent is going to cast a Fireball. It's going to go after Skrulk, and I try to dodge, but really not a chance in hell. And we get clocked there, and we're going to lose 1100 HP almost immediately, which is really some pretty brutal stuff. And you can see slowly but surely he's chipping away at my Skaven Slave Spears. We did actually get a nice little volley in there with some Poison Wind Globes, and that's forced off these Marauder Horsemen. But you can see we're kind of getting clumped up a little bit here, and definitely getting some unfortunate sort of blobs, which is really not what we want. That said, these Chaos Chariots are going to be forced off. They can get terrorized by our Help Abominations, and things definitely looking okay. However, my opponent is falling back. He's doing his very best to sort of kite me away and stretch me out over a long area. Now over here I do a little bit of sneaky micro. My opponent fires off at the Lord Skrulk, and so I body block it with the Plague Priest. Because the Plague Priest has a lot more armor, he's a lot tankier, and he can soak that hit up much more efficiently. He even has magic resistance, which is really nifty. That said, this Shaggoth now is going to be a big threat. He's going to try to womp on me with his hammer, and or actually battle axe, I suppose, and he does quite a bit of damage in that single hit, but with all that fire coming in, he's going to be forced to back the heck away. Now, in the meantime, you can see the Skaven Slave Slingers sort of whittling away, firing away at these Marauder Horsemen, racking up a few kills. In fact, Skaven Slave Slingers, just because they've got such quantity, there's 105 of them in a base unit, and their damage is actually, I think, the same or comparable to Goblin Archers. It might be. It's 7-1, not quite, but I think their goblins are 10-1. But still, it's rather solid, all things considered, and you can do quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of hurt. We're actually going to force this Chaos Sorcerer of Fire over here off as well. You can see, unfortunately, the help it's definitely taking some fire. My opponent doing his very best to try to shut these guys down. Finally, before committing his infantry here, trying to deal with these Clanrat spears, trying to, you can see here, destroy these Skaven slaves, and I'm having a bit of a struggle trying to sort of zone him off with the Skaven slaves, zone him off with the Poison Wind Globes and all those units. And that said, he is going to pile in here with his Chaos Marauders as well as the Weird Spawn, and with double help hits, as well as this whole blob of troops, we are going to be able to start melting these guys down. You can see we do get our little cast there of Pestilent Breath, and we're going to start melting these guys down pretty quickly. Skulk popping his ability there, Rod of Corruption, just destroying these Chaos Marauders. I think they might even be Chaos Warriors in here. Oh no, it's just Chaos Marauders. But we're melting them. You can see a fire breath coming in. It's going to melt these troops a bit. Once again, do quite a bit of damage to the Helpits, who of course are pretty susceptible to that. But that said, the Weird Spawn are falling apart very, very quickly. Skrulk is in there doing quite a bit of hurt. And the Dragon over Shaggoth, he's doing his best here trying to shut down the Plague Beast, but there's only one of him. Elsewhere, you can see the Clanrat Spears over here kind of getting run over by the Chaos Chariot and the Chaos Warriors. This is not a good fight for them at all. And my opponent's definitely gotten red. You can see already these Skaven slaves all the way out here. You can see these guys over here. I've already lost the majority of my infantry contingent, but my opponent doesn't really have the tools to crack these Skaven slaves quickly. One of those interesting things about Skaven units, they hold up surprisingly well due to sheer numbers. You can see over here the Poison Wind Globes running for dear life. Another Fireball does go down to help it. But you can see over here we're sort of running for dear life here with the Poison Wind Globes. We're trying to force our Help Abominations in there, trying to shut these guys down, block them off, use Skrulk, use any tools we have at our disposal just to block these guys off and defend them. Because if I can keep the Poison Wind Globes online, I'll be able to deal with everything else here, especially the Dragon of Shaggoth. I'll be able to shoot down the Sorcerer and all that sort of stuff. You can see the Sorcerer's already taking another Lethal Bronicus, so he's really badly beat up. The Weird Spawn here, despite their very best efforts, are slowly but surely just getting destroyed. They will pile here through the Skaven slaves, but really they're just not going to be able to cut the mustard. They're just getting chopped to bits. That said, you can see the Chaos Marauders are over here, but they're just draining them. That drain effect, that constant Mortis Infinite effect, we're doing a lot of work. You can see my opponent does actually get rid of this Plague Priest. I'm not entirely sure why he's not dead. Might be some sort of bug. Maybe it's a bug on the replay. I don't really know. But you can see as he tries to push in here with the Dragon of Shaggoth, in come all the globes. And you can see just how much damage it's doing. It just gets melted. Poison Wind Globes, I'm not a big fan of them in general, but they can dish out a lot of hurt. If we look at the numbers, it's 35. The bonus for charge is 32. So you've almost got double damage when their bonus for large kicks in. And most of that's AP, and it's going to be tearing this Dragon over Shaggoth a new one. Now, that said, these Marauder Horsemen aren't going to dive in, but the problem is they're not AP, and these guys have 100 armor, so they can certainly, while not shrug it off and say protract engagement, they can do okay. They'll hold up. In the meantime, the Help Abomination here suicidally charging in, trying to shut this guy down, trying to get on this Dragon over Shaggoth, whopping him in the posterior, doing quite a bit of work. Very, very potent unit, of course. And my opponent isn't really using his Marauder Horsemen, I think, in an optimal fashion. He needs to split them up. He needs to be running different units down. He has a lot of mobility advantage on me, so I think he needs to be taking advantage of it. But you can see it does dive in here on the Help Abomination, melting it pretty quickly. It, of course, is weak against fire. It's going to drop a whole bunch, but it's too horrible to die. It does actually proc there, bring it back up to 3,000 HP. And now with the Poison Wind Globes melting this Chaos Sorcerer of Fire, he's going to be forced to back the heck away, and really not where he wants to be in life, and he just gets bombarded there. With the Chaos Warriors closing in, we were going to be able to force the Skedaddle, but of course Skaven still have 34 speed. The Chaos Warriors measly 28, and we're going to be able to kite them pretty well. In the meantime, the pockets here just getting melted down. We did lose our Plague Priest somewhere, as you saw before, but at this point with the Helpit still on the field, a full HP Helpit down here. The Shaggoth very badly mauled. Skrulk's still in okay shape, and still we've got all these Poison Wind Globes. You can see we actually had a plague going down there, just trying to melt some of these troops, trying to melt some of these Marauders. We're going to be able to bring this Dragon over Shaggoth down, and with that, my opponent's going to be forced shortly to admit defeat. As you can see, there's really not very much he's got left. He still has some of these Marauder Horsemen, but the thing is, if he's not able to get rid of my Poison Wind Globes, which he could only really do in melee, these guys will tear him apart. They will tear Marauder Horsemen to shreds. We can watch here what these volleys are going to do to these guys, and you can see just already multiple model kills going in. They're not having the best time. He's going to try to attempt to charge in here, but you can see the Helpit still has 2,000 HP. He says have that 100 armor. The Skrulk in there, he's doing some serious melting, and you can see the Helpit Abomination here doing some good work. Going to be slugging through these guys and forcing some terror outs, and of course these top-notch Clanrat Spears pushing through. And yeah, we're using our Clanrat Spears to zone units off. The Chariots at this point whittle down. It's going to be GG for my opponent. Now, Arrow berated me pretty severely for what, in his opinion, was excessive cheesing. I thought it was a ridiculous build. It's not something I see all that often in Quick Match, and perhaps it was a bit cheesy, perhaps it was a bit harsh. A lot of single model units. Kind of be a bit challenging to deal with, but To be quite frank, Chaos has more than enough tools to deal with it. Now, personally, when I'd run this matchup, if you've probably seen if you watch my replays, if you follow the channel, usually when I play Chaos against Skaven, I'll usually go pretty heavy on. I'll bring Chosen, I'll bring Sarthroil because I think Transmutation's great. I'll bring Final Transmutation is great. I'll bring Chaos Knights, and I'll often bring Chaos Marauder Horsemen. But Sarthroil, the main thing is with Plague of Rust, you can just debuff those annoying Plague Furnaces and really melt them down. And the thing is, if you go with this sort of build, he didn't really have the tools to quickly crack this chaff line. Nothing in here is going to crack this chaff line well. So in my opinion, I don't think this is necessarily a very competitive build. In my humble opinion on it, you don't really have. Skaven are kind of reliant on large. Even if I didn't go heavy on Hell Pit Abominations, I would have needed Rat Ogres. Marauder Horsemen are good against both. So I don't really think that's that much of a problem there, or that much of a challenge. He didn't even get most of his ammo off on the Marauder Horseman, which is a bit of a problem, I think. And the thing is, if you need to crack, you just melt these units and then bog these enemy troops down. I think Chosen are just a much better choice because they will slaughter Skaven slaves. You'll get them out of the way in a heartbeat. And then you can start really pressuring your opponent. You can start pressuring Skrull. You can start pressuring the Plague Priest, the Plague Furnaces, start surrounding them, beating them down. And Chaos Knights, of course, they can cycle charge. They can be used to break up these unit formations, chase these units off the field. If you had Chaos Knights, they could have run down my Poison Globes much more efficiently and then forced them off the field. And that would have just left these single models, which can be tough to crack. But honestly, with this many horsemen, you could easily sort of whittle them down over time. So I think there's a bit of a build issue here as well. It's just not like there's not that many tools, for example, to deal with Stormmen, who are a pretty common sight in this matchup. Not really many tools to deal with Doom Wheels, which are not a rare sight from Skaven. Basically, it's built to counter, I guess, squishy infantry and artillery builds. That's about it. Regardless, good game. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining. As you can see, the loss is definitely very Skaven-y. Only about 300, or only about a third of the Chaos Force was lost, but it's just the morale shock and the loss of those critical units really changed the tide there. You can see the hundreds of kills racked up by some of these troops. And regardless, a very good game to my opponent. Good game to Arrow here. I hope you guys found it entertaining. Hope you found it fun to watch. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe below to keep up with additional content. Any comments, any criticism, if you think this is a ridiculously horrible build, be sure to let me know. I do kind of juggle through builds. I get sick and tired of running the same stuff over and over, so it's not like I'll be running this all that often, but I do think it's a reasonably competitive build if you're going up against Chaos. Not necessarily what I would suggest as an optimum, but definitely pretty solid. As usual, I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.